In my last Valorant video, I talked a lot about how much I love the game and why, but I originally actually cut out a pretty long segment. This segment was talking about how a Super Smash Bros. Melee player is essentially the reason to why I kind of became a coach, because he inspired me to look at what I do in the game and to essentially try and improve, and that is something I'm very thankful for. But I cut out that segment mostly because I didn't want to talk about a private conversation without the consent of the other party. And in that scenario, as I needed to upload the video pretty quickly, and I forgot to ask the person in question until the night before the goddamn video went up, I didn't have time to essentially edit and keep it in. I had to cut it out because I was stupid and forgot to ask. But with that said, as I did get an okay, I have throughout most of my life found some type of interest in esports. Whether it's because I lived in the same household as someone who competed in Dota 2, or because I just kinda happened to have a more distant family member, although a relatively close one, compete in Super Smash Bros. I'm not quite sure, but that doesn't change the fact that I've always had some type of intrigue in it, even though I decided to give a shot competing in esports fairly late. But there is one memory I'll remember from my first ever Smash local. I remember being kinda lonely, not really feeling comfortable talking to anyone. At the time I had some pretty bad social anxiety issues, and I remember just kinda sitting for myself in a corner. And a little bit later, this guy walks by, and I ended up talking to him for a bit. Not much, just a couple of words. I also, if I remember correctly, played a couple friendlies with him. And then... Oh my god, I just knocked over my PS4 controller. Oh no. Fast forward to April 2020, and I'm watching the same guy's Twitch stream. He's playing Valorant. I ask if I can join, and I add him on Discord and we hop in. He helps me out with some stream stuff and we keep playing. After having played a couple times, he sends me a message that ended up changing my entire approach to Valorant and gaming and esports as a whole. But who is the guy I'm talking about? Well, the Super Smash Bros. Melee player in question is Linus Pipsqueak Nordin, who is a Super Smash Bros. Melee player from Stockholm, who is currently ranked at 24th in the world. So during the process of editing this video, a new ranking was released and Pipsqueak is now top 20. So he's 20th in the world. Anyways, back to the video. At this point you might ask, so why are you talking about a Super Smash Bros. Player in a video about how you kind of ended up becoming a Valorant coach? Well, you see, when I first picked up Valorant, I talked about this briefly in my last video. At the start of Valorant, I kind of just played it for fun. I didn't think too much of it, but a little bit into it, I decided that I really wanted to improve. And so I kind of started looking at playing something, and I decided to stick with one character. This character being Jett. At the time, a lot of people, in my opinion, underrated Jett, and obviously that turned out to be true, as everyone complained about how broken Jett was just a little bit later, but at the time not a lot of people did. And I remember my playstyle just being literally dash and run in and then kill people, and it really was the most one-dimensional playstyle you could have at the time. And I know for a fact that this type of lack of patience that I had at the time could really hurt, as you'll see in a short bit. And this was kind of why Pipsqueak and I stopped playing. Now also along with that, Pipsqueak did end up quitting the game pretty shortly after. However, there was one thing that kind of infuriated Pipsqueak with my playstyle, and honestly rightfully so. You see, Pipsqueak told me that he didn't like the fact that I kinda just made very basic mistakes. I didn't really have the patience you would need, and so a lot of the time when I lost my patience, I would kinda just walk out and peek, which I know a lot of people that know me now will think is a very weird thing, considering that my playstyle currently is built around patience. But that's because I'm a persistent asshole and I'll sit in a fucking corner holding an angle for 5 minutes if I have to. I am getting that guy who flanks me every time, I don't fucking care. But at the time, I really would just peek anything. I feel like this clip shows that pretty well.
From a really safe angle, you don't have to actually look.
Here.
Yeah, you don't have to look, we have the spike close. So literally just hold close and force him to go down. You don't even have to peek, dude. Do not take the risk. Oh yeah, she can throw it for the teleporter? Haha, that's fun. It's even better. Like, there's no reason to peek, dude.
Fuck. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
Quite clean.
I should have just waited.
Yeah, I told you like 4 times.
I know. So, Pipsqueak essentially told me that there were multiple things kind of bothering him, making him not having as fun playing with me, due to the fact that I was making a variety of fairly basic mistakes, which is completely understandable. And in all honesty, which I know he has been worried about this, I appreciate people who do these type of things so much. The reason why I ended up getting to where I am today, in getting to know so many amazing people and actually getting to be in a team like the ones I am with and getting to coach these type of players, is because of something like this. Like, Pipsqueak, if you're watching this, thank you so much. Because, and Pipsqueak did say this in this message, he felt like it was way kinder to just be honest and tell me like, hey, this is frustrating. It is so much better than to just ignore the issue and then potentially just dodge me or just not talk to me, or like, how should I put it? It's always better to approach an issue and try and solve it than to ignore it, I think is the best way to put it. And that type of stuff even goes with playing with people and people's playstyles. If you're playing in a team, you can't just ignore someone having a really bad or toxic playstyle that ruins the fun of others. Which in this case I did, and because of that, he decided to essentially talk to me about it. And that helps so much. Not only me, I know, hey, I need to improve. And it also sets a goal for me. At the time, I wanted to improve so I could play with him again. Now again, sadly, as he quit the game, this wouldn't happen, but that doesn't change it. And so we talked a little bit. He essentially advised me to try and watch some pro play, try and just figure out what I want to play, and try and figure out what agents are fun and what agents work better for me, and to try and essentially just think and put some more thought into how I play the game instead of just running in. And so I did. And it's funny. You would think that the guy who decided to pick Jet as his first character in the game, or his first like proper main, would end up being a Jet main. But in all honesty, do I have a main? For anybody who doesn't know, I very early on in the team I coach at the moment started off as an IGL. Was I a good IGL? No, I mean, I was alright. I definitely had my flaws, especially then, because it was my first time IGLing and I had to find my space. I had to figure out how I need to manage a team as a IGL. I needed to figure out a lot. I was at a very odd position and I had a lot to learn. But I think the advantage I had was that I could fill any role. We didn't need to look for someone who could fill a specific role most of the time, because I was more than willing to do that. And I talked about this in my last video about Valorant as well, about how I've always been willing to flex, even though that wasn't originally the case. And so it's probably hard to think about it, but I've gone from maining duelist to maining initiator to maining sentinel to maining initiator to maining controller to maining initiator to maining controller. And I think flexing between all these different roles has taught me so much. At the end of the day, and this is essentially the main thing that Pipsqueak also felt at the time from my understanding, it's not about wanting to learn a main. When starting a new game, it's always best to essentially figure out what you want to do and how you play the best. And you can't do that if you just pick a character and start playing, but the most efficient way you can do that is to essentially just try different things. And on top of that, essentially starting to watch more pro play and learning from better players is something that made me go so far. And so Pipsqueak essentially telling me that it was frustrating to play with me because I had a generally unhealthy playstyle that made the game less enjoyable for my teammates, if anything, made me motivated to improve so that I could show a standard of play that would essentially make it so that I could play with this person. And I think that type of drive is what drives me. Not the part where someone tells me, oh, you're shit, and stops playing with me, or where people just start ignoring me, but when they are willing to tell me, hey, you need to improve, here's what you need to improve on. Because that goes so much further. And that is something I really learned, and I am incredibly thankful for. Well, yeah, that's essentially how a Super Smash Bros. Melee player inspired me in a very odd way to become a Valorant coach. With that being said, Pipsqueak, if you're watching, thank you so much. And if any of my other friends from the Smash scene happen to be watching this, thank you so much as well. The Smash scene is a very lovely scene, at least here in Stockholm. And I'm very thankful for it. Although I don't attend Smash tournaments very often anymore, I really don't want people thinking that I don't like the scene or the people or the games, because as much as I do enjoy it, it's not that I don't. It's just, it wasn't for me, and I think that's fine as well. I still watch a lot. Hell, I was watching some Genesis 9 just before recording this video, and it was really fun seeing MKLeo play Joker again in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye.